Yo people, welcome back to the channel. So today I have OTC and T-Boys TV on Small. OTC, introduce yourself to the people, of course, new on the channel. First time.
Yeah, first time making my debut, putting on rim socks for the first time. Um, yeah, currently here for the first time, so excited for the show. Big up Hannah, and I'm grateful to be here from Off the Canvas Boxing. For those of you guys who aren't aware, and yeah, most of the time I talk about boxing and Chelsea Football Club at the same time. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Entirely introduce yourself to if the people don't know, introduce yourself.
Yep. Obviously, Hanno, thank you again for bringing me on. Bit of a boxing talk, obviously. I've done that a few times on my channel, not overly, but obviously Hanno asked me if I wanted to come on this, so I was up for it. Talk about some upcoming boxing. Other than football, it's my favourite sport. So, yeah.
Yeah, some big fights here this weekend. And of course, the biggest one, Cesaro versus Pule. We'll get into that one later. But um, yeah, the, we, I think we should start off with Garcia versus the Garcia fight. Of course, it's
Yeah,
a big, it's a big fight. Let me get, both fighters um, are in good form at this stage. Um, Garcia, of course, got the age advantage. He's 23 and for how do you pronounce it? Other guy's name? I don't know how.
right. Garcia's last fight was indeed because it was such a while ago. Emmanuel Tago is a half decent fighter. I wouldn't I wouldn't write home any. I wouldn't say he's anything to write home about, but he is a half decent fighter. Prior to that, Ryan Garcia has been off for the best part of a year, a bit over a year, about a little around what 13, 14 months. He's been out the ring for a whole heap of reasons. Right, with Ryan Garcia, he he's considered one of the best lightweights in the world, but I think a lot of his problems are a little bit immaturity. He has suffered from mental health as well, and which has taken him out the ring also, um, and a little bit of a lack of guidance, a lack of good guidance, because even though he was around Canelo Alvarez and he was in that camp, Ryan Garcia really for me that's not the best environment. It's a bit like a like me sitting in like a Somali cafe with an uncle. I'm not being funny. A lot of the time it'll go through one ear and it'll come out other ear. Whereas I think with Ryan Garcia, he needs somebody who he could probably relate to a little bit more, if that makes sense. And for me, if he beats a tough fighter, a tough opponent in Javier Fortuna, who Javier Fortuna for me is like I would class him as a gatekeeper, a person who you could potentially put in the top 10, top 15, and he's an acid test. And he's only lost to the likes of a Joseph Diaz, a Jojo Diaz, Robert Easter Jr. He's had no contest, even against the likes of a Granados, and then he lost early in his career to Sosa. But for me, this is a very good acid test. After this, I want him to fight the likes of Javante Tag Davis. I want him to fight the likes of Devin Haney, Vasily Lomachenko, these sorts of people. Because Ryan, for me, he's 23 years old, but his counterpart in Devin Haney, who I would class both of them at a very similar stage of their careers, is currently now the undisputed lightweight champion because he managed to put his head down and focus. So if Ryan Garcia doesn't focus, I know he's got a new trainer, but he needs to put his head down. And if he can, the sky's the limit. He does get his rough with the money. I would describe him as the boxing's Paul Pogba. He's got a lot of talent. A lot of things don't go his way, but at the same time, there's a lot of potential in there. But I'm excited for Ryan Garcia. I think that fight's happening towards the back end of the month, and can't wait for that fight to take place.
Yeah, that, that's going to be a good fight. Yeah,
Hell of a
that's next week, Saturday.
yes.
So that's going to be a good fight. Tyler, your thoughts on that fight?
Yeah, it's like mentioned, it's going to be a test for Garcia. Obviously, Fortuna's had a lot of fights as well, and I don't really know too much about. I've seen a bit of Garcia, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he can keep up this record that he has. But yeah, Fortuna's he's gonna, for me, it will be where he'll make it tough. But if Garcia gets through, it'll be very interesting to see who he moves on to next. And obviously, like you mentioned, been out for a while as well. So it could be one of them where it might be a bit rusty. But it'll be an interesting one. It'll be a very interesting one. And yeah.
Yeah. I really only know Garcia, and he he hasn't lost. He's 22-0. He hasn't lost or drawn a fight yet. And
That's true.
crazy.
That's true. He hasn't drawn nor has he lost. But his best winner was against Luke Campbell, who I wouldn't say is the best level of opponent. I wouldn't even put him in my top 10 in terms of lightweight. So it is fantastic that he remains undefeated, but he needs a huge step up. He's supposed to be in big fights, and he hasn't really had a tough fight yet. His counterpart Devin Haney has beaten top the 10 level guys. He's become undisputed at beating the likes of George Cambosas. However, Ryan, for me, I think that he's got to have a good year. A good what he fought, he fought like a couple of months ago against Teko, but he was off for a year beforehand. If he wins against Fortuna, then out in the year, maybe in September, December, then afterwards, maybe if he fights again at the back end of the year, just before New Year's next year, I think he'll have a decent run and build up momentum up, and then go into the big fights towards maybe the back end of this year, early next year. Absolutely. If not, it's going to be a very disappointing, year out of boxing, because that's 2 years against not top 10 level guys. That's very concerning for Ryan Garcia if he doesn't fulfill his next goals in the next 12 to 18 months.
Absolutely true. And the next fight, um, just if I am wrong, just correct me. Which is another big fight. Just need to get it up on my screen. Um, is the Castro fight. Am I correct or not?
Yeah, yeah. There's a Maxayo fight, couple or next week is next week as well. No, actually, no, Maxayo was this weekend. Early hours of Sunday morning. And then there's a Figueroa Castro fight. For me, the Figueroa Castro fight is number 2 versus number 5 in the super bantamweight division. Um, both men, I think, to my understanding, have come off losses, and I think whoever wins this fight will be the person whoever wins this fight would be the person who kind of redeemed their loss. I know, the likes of, I think, Figueroa. His last fight was against Stephen Fulton, who's an extremely high level talent in that division. 22 wins, one draw, one loss. And in Castro, he's a little bit more experienced, who's got 27 wins, one draw, one loss. Both men are actually towards the mid late 20s as well. So I think a good win against for any of these gentlemen will put them in a good position to then compete for the top honors as well in the super bantamweight division. And do you know what? I think these two gentlemen will be like very good test for the likes of Inoue, who's coming up into that ranking as well, who wants to fight Stephen Fulton. I know he's probably want to become undisputed at the weight class below. So yeah, can't wait for that fight, particularly between Figueroa and Castro. Um, in terms of report on that, there's not really a lot to report on. Two decent level fighters, but yeah, a lot to prove and a lot of redemption to take place. They're coming off both losses, so yeah, it should be a good fight.
Tyler, your thoughts before going to some of the interesting stats?
I'll be honest, Hanno, mate. These two I haven't really seen too much of, so I can't really judge them too much. But from what I've heard, you know, I think from what I'm hearing, it could be an explosive one. It could be ones where it could be what's the word I'm looking for? Risk for reward, essentially. They're both coming on the back of a loss, like you mentioned. So could be one where one of them, goes all out and tries, risking it essentially. And if it pulls off, it pulls off, and they get, the win sort of thing. If you get what I mean. So yeah, that's all I can really say on that one.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, some of the stats is, of course, Castro, he's 28, and his opponent, I'm not going to try and pronounce their name,
Oh,
is
Figueroa,
25.
Figueroa
Uh,
25, yeah, American, um, American in Brandon Figueroa, yeah. Um, he's got a lot of time on his hand as well. Even though he's taken a loss and taken a draw, he has got a lot of time on his hand. So it, I, it, there is a lot left in the tank for him, if that makes sense.
yeah. And uh, Castro has reached disadvantage, of course. His reach is, according to this website, it's about 700 and, sorry, not 700, geez, 178 centimeters. Um, if you, and so it's got about 5 centimeter reach advantage, 3 centimeter height disadvantage. So both Castro is a bit shorter, not by a lot. His reach also not by a lot. And then if we look, um, uh, so uh, Castro will make his way to the ring with a record of 27 wins, 1 loss, and 0 draws, of 12 of those wins being knockouts. So I, I think there should be a confident Castro win, in my opinion. I think
Yeah,
Castro will do it. Personally, I think we'll do it in maybe, I think he will do it in the 6th round. That's my prediction. To see your prediction.
for this fight in particular, I'm a go. It's very tough for me. Even though Castro's coming off a loss against Stephen Fulton is a very good fighter. I'm a go. Do you know what? I'm a go. Figueroa, Figueroa win by stoppage, probably around late stoppage. I'd say late stoppage for Figueroa. Um, that that to me seems like a likely result. And yeah, for, I guarantee probably this fight's going to be a barnstormer.
So you're going against Castro. That's interesting. It's going for
Yeah.
the underdog. Or I can. Tyler, I know you haven't said much of these two, but
I reckon I'll just drop a random prediction. I'll say Figueroa on points. I reckon it'll go all the way to points.
Okay. Wow. Both backing the- I can't pronounce it. The surname. What's other big fights? This
Ch-
weekend.
Chizora's another big fight on the undercard. You got Soro versus Madrimov. That is a good fight as well. But I think a lot of
Sarah
people this
versus.
Soro versus Madrimov on the undercard of that fight. Madrimov is actually a hot prospect, 8-0 as a professional, but this individual is in the top 5 and he's only had an 8 fights, 6 knockouts. Uzbekistan, he beat Soro in the last fight, but he did punch after the bell, but Soro was gone. So I think this fight is a lot of people are just saying this is an open shot case. Majibov is going to knock Soro out again, this time not after the bell, he's going to do it inside the bell. There has been some controversy around the last fight, but regardless of that, Soro, he's a veteran, 34 years of age. French Ivorian. And in that last fight, I think in the fourth round, he was seriously hurt by Madrimov, and he subsequently got knocked out in the next couple of rounds afterwards. So, for me, whoever wins after this could be going into the ring with the likes of a Chris Eubank Jr. That would be probably a good fight. The likes of Charlo, that would be a good fight. Another person that could potentially jump in the ring with is Tim Zoo. So whoever wins, well, probably Majimov. The sky's the limit for them. And therefore, for me, I'm going for an Israel Madrimov win. I can't see a world in which Sorrow won. We saw the last fight, unless Sorrow wakes up and takes some some basically PEDs or something. In my opinion, he's got no hope and no chance in winning this fight personally. Because I seen it the first fight and I thought, yeah, that's enough. That's enough data to go off.
Yeah. So have you seen any of these two boxers?
I've seen bits of Madrim. I can't say his name properly, but I've seen.
Madrimov.
There you go. There you go. I've seen bits of him. Obviously, undefeated, like mentioned there, and yeah, I think he'll win this, and I actually think he might win it quite early. Maybe second round. To be honest, so I'm gonna go for a
Okay.
second round TKO.
Wow.
That
It's possible. It's possible. Well,
it's absolutely possible. It's absolutely possible. Yeah. Wow, it is possible. Yes. Wow, the last time he got an early stoppage, I'm looking at it now, it was in 2019. But since then, he's been stopped. Well, he's stopping his fighters round number 6, round
Yeah,
number 9, round number. But this is a very old fighter, a very an old fighter in Michel Soro, who he's already beaten, prior to this fight. So, yeah, absolutely, it's definitely a plausible prediction, definitely.
yeah,
yeah. Last time, um, Medremov, I think. I don't. Last time he had a TKO, it was in the fifth round. So it's close and can be done. So he is um, 34 years old. Um, he's a little bit taller there, and he's got just a bit more of reach. But if we look at some of the stats, Sorrow has a record of 35 wins, 3 losses on draw, and 25 of those wins has been knock, knockouts. Maybe I'm just going to call him on his name, Israel, I think. He's an
Madrimov.
undefeated record.
Yeah, Israel Madrimov, yeah. Undefeated record, 6-0. Well, sorry, 8-0,
I can't
six
remember.
KOs. But you could definitely see from the get-go, this kid is special. Well, he's not a kid, but I think he's about 27. But he is special, and I think to be in the top five at such a um a stage of his career where he's probably not had a lot of fights, it's telling something. He's beaten. If he beats Sorrow, definitely I want to see him against top level opposition. Absolutely.
And his last fight was against Michael Sorrell. The same opponent, I think.
Same opponent.
Mm.
Same opponent.
And, and that was a technical knockout in the ninth round in the WBA World Super uh, Welterweight Eliminator fight. So he has got the TKO record on Michael Sorrell. Second round, but too far from the ninth round. But it's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all can agree. What is he? That
Madrimov.
player's
Yeah.
name? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Madrimov.
we
Yeah.
we all are going to do it. Won by knockout in the seventh round. No, fourth, fourth, fourth
For
round.
okay. Okay. Interesting.
Your
You guys are
prediction?
going for early prediction.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
very early prediction. I would. You know what? Honestly, it is. I would say he's. I'll give it a fifth round KO because I do think it's going to be earlier than last time because he knows the fighter. He doesn't really need to work him out again. Once you come up against a person again and you've already beaten them, there ain't much to think about. You know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
You know how far they are. You know basically how much steps it takes for you to reach them. You know how your personal distance. If you throw your arm, how long it would all not how long, but like how much distance would it take for you to land on them for the most part. There's not really much to think about in that fight, but unless Sorrow comes out and takes some pops, a couple of Red Bulls down his throat, and just starts going AWOL and just loses his brain completely. I can only see a Madridov win, and I'm saying that he's probably going to win in the fifth round KO. I'm thinking about sixth, but I'm gonna stick to fifth. I said fifth. I'm gonna stick to fifth.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how they line up. And of course, the last fight was 5 years ago. It was 5 years ago, 2017. So that's 5 years Michael Sorrow have on him. So it's going to be tough for Sorrow. And yeah, and I think the last big fight is the Pulev one.
Yeah, this
That's
is
the
Definitely.
and
this is a big fight. Yeah,
uh, I would just OTC you take you. I know you
Chisora.
I said I said this one.
um, Derek Chisora is a nutcase. I think a lot of people probably get that by now. He is an absolute nut job, but at the same time, he is an entertaining fighter. I think yesterday was the press conference, and there was a bit of tussle. He was telling Pulev to basically shut his beeping mouth, and eh, eh, at the same time, he was saying things like, "Even though I keep losing, I keep making a lot of money because a lot of people want to see me fight." And I think that's definitely true with regards to Chisora. Chisora is one of those individuals that win, lose, or draw, you're here for the entertainment. Do you know what? He is actually reminds me so much of like Leeds Football Club, like Leeds Football Club, or like when they were under Bielsa. Pass, pass, pass. They may even lose, but they're hella entertaining to watch. I'll tell you that for free. And for me, Chisora is one of those individuals. He just goes hell for leather, swings wild shots, etc. But his fight against Kubrat Pulev is actually a rematch. They last fought. Wow, it was quite a while ago. I think it was. It was definitely a while ago. I think it was about 2018, 2017 time. I could be mistaken. I think, yeah, 2017, 2018 time. And Kubrat Pulev won. Kubrat Pulev won that fight on points. And for me, I think in this fight, it's a very tough one to call. Both men are very old. I think Kubrat Pulev is in his late 30s. I think he's about 30.
I think he might be
Ah,
31.
31. Hi,
No,
31, but he's
Pulev is 41, and
41.
yes, he's
Yes, he's
41,
41. Yeah,
and Cesaro is 38.
yeah.
Well, I
This
was
is
way off then.
yeah. I thought 41. I thought the thing is in boxing, and this is one of the eye-opening things is that someone could be like Kuma Pulev may even be like he could be a 31, but he may have started his boxing career at the age of 16, 17. So we may think that this guy's really old, but at the same time, he he could actually be extremely young. Like like for example, I don't know, Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney's not even 40 years old, to my understanding, but he's his football debut was when like 2003, 2000. Yeah, I think it was. Well, yeah, I think it was 2003.
Yeah, I think it
Or
was. Yeah,
yeah, or like beforehand. And there's certain people like that in boxing. You think, hold on, you've been here for a long time. Chisora is another one. Chisora, even though he's got a crazy record of 32 wins, 12 losses, and no draws on his record. And Pulev's only lost twice. Like, well, he's fought 30 or 29 times, and he's lost only twice. He's lost only to Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, if you think about it, those are not the worst names to really lose to because they are like Vladimir Klitschko, Anthony Joshua. Like those are like some of the biggest names, especially Vladimir Klitschko. I would say in this era in the last 20 years. Chisora, on the other hand, has lost to he's also lost to quite a few people. He's lost to Tyson Fury twice. They lost to David Hay twice. He's lost to well, his last fight it was against Joseph Parker, where he effectively was losing that fight from round two, round three, and all he done for the rest of the fight, he just stood on the ropes or in the corner, and he just started throwing, and he used that corner as like a shield. He just stood there and he wasn't moving from the corner of the ring. He just throw his shots from that angle, nothing else. From Chisora's standpoint as well, this gentleman, a lot of people are saying he should hang up his glove. Sorry, uh, it's tough call because Chisora's only losses in the last couple of years was against Alexander Usyk. He's lost to Joseph Parker, who was a former world champion. He's lost to who else did he lose to the last couple of years? He didn't lose to a lot of Dillian White. Like this guy's
yeah. I
losing
was
to
about to say.
people.
Yeah,
This guy's losing to people who are you would consider in the top 10.
yeah,
Most of his losses are probably from individuals who you consider in their top 10. Some of them even in their top five, like the David Haye, Tyson Fury, Vitaly Klitschko. Like these, these are world class people that he lost to, and for me, I'd love him to fight, like stay on for a bit longer, but at the same time, it's a dangerous sport. Like we don't want him 50 years old, and we ask like hello to already can't string a sentence together. We don't want it to be like that. But he's a nutcase. I think today he went into the weigh-in with a Boris Johnson face mask. He went into the weigh-in with a Boris Johnson face mask. Um, and he's basically best mates with Nigel Farage. He's well Boris Johnson's best mate. I think he invited him to the fight as well. I'm not sure whether he's going to turn up now, but he still invited him to the fight. I'm probably going to see him later on as well. Like this, yeah, Chisora is a character. He's um he's a flagrant individual. He's one that I'm gonna miss, and I really hope that he beats Kubrat Pulev and sells off into the sunset, beating an opponent who he's effectively lost to, even though it was a very very narrow loss. It, regardless of that, it's gonna be fireworks. Pulev's here to run around the ring. He's not here to fight. It's gonna be a good fight.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've been
So,
rambling on the route.
okay. Tyler, your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, it's going to be. I think the best word to describe it is explosive. It's going to be. It's going to be all guns blazing essentially. Um, but yeah, like I said to you lot before, I only realised today that it was actually on tomorrow. Annoyingly, because I would have watched everything, the build up to it. I heard it's crazy, like you mentioned there. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a very interesting one. Obviously, like we said, both getting on a bit, but it's going to be explosive. It is going to be explosive. I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm looking forward to watching it. How do I see it going?
It's tough to call, I know.
It is, especially I don't know. I don't know.
Because
It's
they're super old. And this is the
yeah,
thing.
that's the thing.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Yeah,
And it's a bit like who could get that last, that last bit of energy out the tank before the
yeah,
car breaks down. It's one of the ones like whose car's going to break down first, one of them scenarios. And I think it's very difficult to decide. Pulev won before against Chisora, but that was a while ago. But
yeah.
even so, even so,
And
um,
if I'm correct, sorry, I don't know if you mentioned it. I can't quite remember. But did you mention? Oh, are they both on the back of a loss, aren't they? If I'm correct.
no.
No.
No, Chisora Chisoro's off a loss against Joseph Parker,
Yeah, I
but
remember watching that.
indeed, and Pulev, he lost to Anthony Joshua, but he actually had a fight in May.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He
Of course
fought
he
in
did.
May. He fought in May against a guy called Jerry Forrest, which a lot of people describe as somebody who fights very similar to Chisora, and he beat him on unanimous decision. I think this
Right.
fight, honestly, the best thing that we could predict is definitely it's definitely for me going to points. I
Yeah.
can't. I think it's going to points. When they last fought, he went to points. Chisora's last fight was points. Pulev's last fight was points. Well, beforehand it was Anthony. Well, before the last fight, he fought Anthony Joshua, got knocked out. But then beforehand, well, 3 out of the last 4 fights beforehand was all on points. I think this is going to finish on points, but deciding a winner it's an extremely difficult task, and I'm going to stick with my guns. Maybe go with my heart and not my head, and go with Chisora on point. I think the reason why Chisora lost to Joseph Parker was the rematch. I can understand the rematch. Joseph Parker came up with a good game plan. He's got great coaches around him. But the first fight, the reason why he lost was because in certain rounds the intensity wasn't high enough. But that was against a 27-year-old in Joseph Parker. He's coming up against a 41-year-old Kubrat Pulev. I don't think that those rounds that Chisora does take off, I don't think that Pulev has the necessary stamina, activity to really grasp those rounds with Chisora. But at the same time, Chisora could be absolutely shot to pieces. We never know. I'm telling you, we never know. We could wake up tomorrow, Chisora goes into the ring, pops his shoulder the first round, and that's it. Like all our predictions gone straight out the window.
yeah, absolutely. But before I go to Tyler for his prediction, my thoughts on this, it's going to be a heck of a fight.
Mm,
Cesaro, he's going, what he's going to be. He's going to bring that fight inside him. He's going to bring the energy, the intensity. Pulev, he's going to bring again that experience. You know, he's going to. It's just going to be Pulev. He's
yeah,
going to bring that strength, and it's not going to go down easily.
yeah,
If you so, and I think that's the thing Cesaro has to deal with. Maybe all of his other opponents have gone down a little bit easier, but
yeah. A
Pulev is
couple of
not.
them, yeah,
He's not going to go down easy. He's going to go down well, to end. Um, but my prediction is I think Pulev is going to take it. I think Pulev is going to take it in ninth round. KO.
Interesting.
KO.
Okay. Okay. That is very interesting. It that is possible. That is possible. If Chisora is possible, it is definitely possible. Pulev does have somewhat power. If Chisora is completely out of it, it's. Do you know what? Pulev looks motivated. Pulev looks like completely fit as well. I've never seen him in a better shape. It's possible. It's definitely possible.
Yeah. Tyler, your prediction.
I'm going to agree with one of them from earlier. One of the predictions, which is a win on points for Chisora. I think there's going to be moments in the fight. I actually think both fighters will get knocked down at one point.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think it will end up going 2 points, and Chisora will get the win. I think he'll just edge it on points. So yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's the last big fight on
Yeah.
this
With that,
this
yeah,
weekend. This is another one I don't know about.
yeah. This is the last. Yeah, this is the last big fight. That's happening sort of this weekend and the next like couple of weeks as well. I think AJ fight's happening in August.
Yeah, August.
AJ versus Alexander Usyk rematch. That
That's
should be a
going to
very.
be a taste.
That's going to be a taster. Um, and I think what other there's another big one. Canelo's fighting against Triple G in September. For the next, I would say, month or so, it's very like slow build up. You've got Chisora, you've got like a couple of decent, like couple of big fights, and then once you get to August, it's going to be like it's going to really pick up the pace. The AJ fight, I'm excited for that. How do you guys see that fight going?
Yeah.
To me, it depends. It depends what AJ does.
Mm,
Um, if he, which I can't see him doing, if he sits sort of back and doesn't go for it, which is the
mm.
common thing. Everyone's saying it. It's the obvious thing. I think obviously he'll struggle if that's the case. But maybe if he, I don't know, because Usyk's a very skillful boxer. It's a difficult one. It's a
Yeah,
very difficult one to predict.
Is
Um,
the title on the line in that fight?
yeah,
yeah. It's quite a few, isn't there, on the line? It's
yeah.
like
I think
four
it's
belts or something like that.
all of the belts apart from one, which is held by Tyson Fury,
Yeah,
who's currently retired. The reason why I say that is because this gentleman has been retired about 3, 4 times in his career, um, and's come out of retirement a couple of times. So for me, I I don't. I would take whatever he says with a big pinch of salt. Um, to be fair, you're gonna need more than a pinch. You're gonna need a whole truckload of salt. To be fair, but at the same time, um, this is gonna be a good fight in August. The first fight was absolutely like I was at the stadium. It was at Tottenham. No, this was at Tottenham Stadium. Like, why did I go? The thing is, yeah, AJ lost at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's not like it shouldn't be a shock because it's Tottenham. Like
Tottenham.
they don't, yeah, they don't win anything there. But I do hope that AJ does pick it up and sticks on Usyk. I know some people are saying yeah, but like Usyk's skilled. I agree. Usyk is very skilled. Usyk darts around him and make him lose his brain and hypnotize him. But I think that if AJ uses his power. He's the bigger man. He's the stronger man. He's more powerful, more ferocious. Hits harder. If
Yeah,
he lets his hands go, like I'm sorry, it's like trying to stop a bullet reaching your head. Like once it's gone, once it's towards you, there's nothing really much you can do. And I do hope that AJ takes it off. Someone saying in the chat as well, KSI versus Alex Wasabi. that's also happening as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Tickets
But
officially come out today, didn't they? For that, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure I saw prices and that for that fight.
I think tickets were out. I think it was out. Do you know what's crazy? I think it was out
no,
yesterday and today. No, it's out. Sorry,
Right.
it's out yesterday. I think it got sold out straight away. I didn't even know
Yeah.
you was, tickets are out. I just looked at it, oh yeah, tickets are sold out, so we're gonna release some more today. And I think it's probably
Oh
sold
yeah,
out
yeah.
today.
When he tweeted that, yeah, I saw that.
yeah.
But
But
yeah,
I want to get you guys'
go on,
thoughts.
Hanno.
These celebrities fighting in the boxing matches. Is it
Yeah,
good? Is it a good thing? The bad thing? Is it just okay?
I I'd say I'd describe it as a good thing. I'm I would well, I would say my opinion is I'm not in the majority. It's a bit split because with boxing, there is a lot of problems within the sport that these YouTubers are not really causing a big problem, in my opinion. In fact, they're really highlighting the issue some of the times. First issue is how these YouTubers with no boxing amateur pedigree, probably not boxed a single day in their life, manage to go to a community center and manage to turn professional. It's beyond me. I have no idea how they do it, but they manage to turn professional. They, eh, if you see, yeah, there's a footballer out there probably never kicked the ball in this life, but this gentleman, he can't even pass the ball forward. But yeah, he's a professional footballer. You lot probably thinking, oh, hold on a minute, how did this guy become a professional footballer? So the barrier of entry is so low that pretty much anyone could become a professional boxer now. That's a problem that they've highlighted, which I think is a good thing. Another thing is that they're actually fighting against people their level. A lot of boxers don't actually do that. They actually fight people who you can turn around and say, you know what, you could potentially lose to that fighter. It's a tough fight. A lot of boxers. I'll give you an example. We spoke about Ryan Garcia earlier. Ryan Garcia should be fighting somebody amongst the top 5, top 10. Instead, he's fighting somebody who you would scrape into the top 15. So I think that they're also highlighting that issue, and they're also bringing money and eyes to the sport because young people are going to be looking like, oh, okay, I'm going to join
Yeah.
boxing because flipping KSI and Jake Paul. Jake Paul's a bit different because his audience a bit. Yeah, it's a bit like One Direction fans. It's a bit different type of an audience, but regardless of that, you got a lot of young fans of these people be like, okay, I want to join in the sport, I want to try it out, I want to watch it a little bit more. Does that make sense? So I can only see them as being a benefit. They're not taking any money away from other people, really and truly. So I don't get what the big beef is with them. And also we see in sports like football, every year we see soccer aid. I don't see no one complaining about soccer aid or Bayern Munich legends versus Liverpool legends. You got 45-year-old men versus the other 45-year-old men. The reason why a lot of boxing fans complain about it is because they're not getting the big fights, and instead this is what they're giving instead as an alternative. That's why they're getting mad, and I think they're taking the anger out at a group of young men and women that really and truly they really don't deserve to get that level of heat personally. But I am part of the minority in the boxing world. I'm gonna tell you that for free. A lot of people don't think like me.
Yeah. Tyler, your thoughts on it?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with it, especially the part where you mentioned it brings more eyes. Essentially, no, a lot more people, like a lot more of my friends, for example, since YouTubers and that have fought each other, they've started to watch it more. So yeah, definitely, I've seen that firsthand, and yeah, the bit where you mentioned, they're fighting, their levels. That's a very good point as well. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with it. It's entertaining, at the end of the day. You look at, maybe not certain fights like one of the ones on the Deji versus Wasabi, where the guy headbutted it, stuff like that. You know,
Yeah,
people that paid for that, including myself, to go was, seeing stuff like that's annoying. But when they're
Yeah,
actually, training hard and that, like, even though a lot of people don't like him, you know, look, Jake Paul, for example, he's
yeah,
taking it seriously. He's
Yeah,
proper training for it and that sort of thing. So,
yeah, and it's
as long as they're
confirmed.
not disrespecting the sport as well, I don't see a problem personally.
Yeah, and it's confirmed he's fighting Ashim Ram Jr. the
Yeah,
6th of August. It's a big fight for Jake Paul himself, and he has taken some risk of the fight he got into, and um,
yeah. With regards to Jake Paul and the hate that he gets, it's I think I'm understanding Jake Paul a little bit more. I'm getting the reason
yeah,
why I'm understanding it is that I kind of realize this kid is a um a Hall of Fame wind up merchant. Like
yeah.
this kid, and you know what it is? He's pressing the right buttons. And when I look back, I'm turning around, I'm thinking, why are so many grown men angry at this YouTube 24, 25-year-old guy who lives out in California, who they probably never met, but they probably wound up about him. Has this kid, what, has he got a lot of criminal record? No, he doesn't. Like, has he, nah, like, why does he wind them up? Because he's pressing every button, like, every kind of button that he is, he's taking complete control. And he's also, if for those you guys,
Is it just me, or is he lagging, or is he
yeah,
lagging for you as well? I was gonna say,
he's lagging. I just think moving and OTC, I think it's frozen.
can you guys see me now?
Okay,
yeah, all
yeah,
good now.
now we're back.
I don't know what happened there. It just started to like freeze. I'm like, what is going on here? And it was, what's crazy? It weren't even my internet. It was, I don't know what it was, but it weren't my internet for some weird reason because it was saying full bars. But
Yeah,
I forgot where was the thing? Yeah, Jake Paul. You might
Yeah,
have not known this. He promoted the biggest women's boxing fight of all time
yeah, that's
the
true.
other day
Yeah,
with Eddie Hearn in Taylor versus Serrano. This kid, I think he's actually a blessing to boxing, especially the women's boxing game because they don't get a lot of light, and I think Jake Paul's giving them a huge spotlight on them. So for me, I think Jake Paul, um, even though he can be a little bit of a knob, I personally think that he's just winding everybody up. I don't think he's genuine. I think he's winding everybody up. Um, and I noticed that when if I listened to Logan Paul, I didn't like Logan Paul either. But the more I understood Logan Paul, I was like, he's not actually a bad guy.
yeah,
And um, and I think Jake Paul is a very similar circumstance. So I think you got Alex Wasab versus KSI, you've got Jake Paul versus Haseeb Rahman Jr., who's the son of the legend Haseeb Rahman, who defeated the great Lennox Lewis. Um, Haseeb Rahman was one of the best heavyweight boxers of all time, and his son is 12-1 to my understanding. So it should be it's a huge fight. I'm not gonna lie, it's better than Tommy Fury. I must say, this gentleman is a serious contender.
yeah. Wait, speak quickly again. OTC,
Huh?
again. Okay, okay, so, okay, no, I just thought I missed something there, but it's okay. Yeah, and of course, Logan Paul signed with WWE. Also, it's come, so it is. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
Yeah, it means. Do you know what? It means that he's and I know this might sound crazy, but I think a lot of us in the boxing world have been saying this. I think Logan Paul or Jake Paul, one of them, I could definitely see them try to run for president. I could see it. These two are absolute nut jobs, and they try to jump into as much industry possible. I could definitely see in the next 5, 10 years they'll be trying to run politics or something. But I think, yeah, he ventured out into WWE. He's from a wrestling background. It makes sense,
Yeah.
even though wrestling and WWE are a bit are a bit different. But yeah, he's got a background in it, so it makes sense for him.
yeah. Any last thoughts before we end off?
No, yeah, it's been a very enjoyable stream. I'm also grateful to come onto the great Hanos channel. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, I think in the next couple of months as well, both will definitely pick up, and I'm also grateful for the fights that we're getting as well. So I'm excited. And yeah, thank you very much for having me.
yeah. Tyler?
Yeah, no, same here, mate. Same here, mate. Thank you for bringing me onto the channel again. Yeah, apologies that I didn't really know too much about the other fights
Yeah,
that you told me about, but yeah, no, it's going to be good, and like mentioned, there's going to be a lot more to talk about, a lot more fights coming up in the next couple of months. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot more previews like this, and yeah, it'll be interesting.
yeah. I will try and do a preview for every weekend's game, fight, not games. So if there is one on a Friday, I will just schedule it for a Thursday. Yeah, all those everyone's links are in the description. But OTC, shout out to Sophie.
Yeah, in terms of where to find me, you can find me out of the Cameras Boxing YouTube channel. And yeah, you could sausage Chelsea's in the bud. Wait, Ilyas, I'm telling you. Wait, hold on. No, we're not gonna get into that chat. Yeah, yeah. If you can find me on Off the Cameras Boxing YouTube channel, OTC. A lot of people refer to me as. So yeah, if you type it Off the Cameras Boxing on Instagram and YouTube, you definitely find me.
Yeah. And uh, Tyler, you?
Obviously, as you can see there, T Boys TV, that's my main YouTube channel. I did actually do a stream earlier talking about Luton with my dad. Obviously, had a show. We discuss them, talk about transfers and that sort of thing. And yeah, Hanno has kindly put all my other descriptions to all my other social medias in the description, obviously. So if you want to follow me across them, um, then feel free to do that. That would be much appreciated. And yeah, my other channels on there as well, T Boys TV Extra, where I post clips and highlights and that sort of thing. So yeah, if you could subscribe to that as well with the notification bell on, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you again, Hanno.
Yeah. One goal I have is I need to get we need to get T-Boys TV extra 200 subs. We need to do that. But currently, of the canvas boxing is on 454 subscribers. So let's get him to 400,
As far as we can get.
460 from the stream. Everybody go over to his channel. Uh, what what you talking about? This? You're talking about that,
50
please.
City. Ah, he's referred to. Uh, oh, I
Uh,
think Sterling. Is it Sterling? Ah, okay, one of them. No, actually, it must be Sterling.
Yeah, I think it is.
Sterling.
is that still in your okay? I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure who he's referring to. Um,
Is it
surely not.
both?
Yeah, it can't be. Okay.
Okay,
I mean,
50 million. No, thank you.
I
No.
mean, if he's a City reject. He's also a Chelsea reject because he did come from Chelsea first, then went to Bournemouth, and then went to City, and then now he's back at Chelsea. So, and he's not really. I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, but what is he a City fan?
No, he's a Liverpool fan.
He's a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, but that changes some things. Okay. I thought he was. I'm telling you. But also, just what I read, I thought if he's an Arsenal or Man United fan, it's about to go down.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I want to thank you guys again for coming on. Subscribe, yeah. Then go over to um, these lovely people's channels. Subscribe. Yeah, it was fun. And we'll see you next week, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. We will find out very, very soon.